Hey everybody, and welcome to the Stash Reports first quarter 2015 information and speculation video. That sounds way more important than it really is. But now that I have your attention, let's discuss what we have to look forward to in the first quarter of 2015. Well, probably dabble a little bit into all of 2015 in the bigger picture sense, but specifically, we're looking at stuff that we are expecting, both domestic and import, for the first quarter of 2015. This will be January, February, and March. We'll start domestics as we always do, because I know there's some people that really couldn't give two flips what comes over from Japan, and we like to get them out of the video early if they want to bail. So you have two flyers that we're going to sort of put up on the screen here. You want to blow the video up full size so you can actually see what we're talking about here. But we'll start over at round two. Well, go ahead and credit, I believe his name is Jerry, and not Gary, but Jerry Baquette, who does some work for Model Car Magazine, who got this flyer at iHobby. I accidentally posted this on Facebook without crediting him, and he lost his mind. Funny, I found it on Spotlight Hobbies with this Model Car Magazine logo, and I'm sure that if I asked round two, I could have got one without the watermark, but no, the watermark is still there. I'm not stealing, I'm just sharing. So, I'm not sure exactly how well this is going to show up for you guys, because it's kind of small printing, but what we're looking at here is January, February, March for round two. This will include AMT, MPC, as well as Lindbergh. There are going to be a couple of Lindbergh kits that are coming out in the first quarter as Tom Lowe and the gang goes through and starts cleaning up the and seeing what's serviceable, I guess I should say, out of the tooling from their Lindbergh purchase of the summer. So for January, you notice there, you're starting up top with the 70 Impala, the old heavy Chevy. Looks like this kit's going to get some box art backdating into the 70s there, but otherwise it's probably going to be the same 1970 Impala that's always been around. Be interesting to see how many of these kits just get box art and how many of them get any kind of parts done to them. Beside that, it's the Piranha Spy Car. From what we understand, this will be backdated to the Man from U.N.C.L.E. series release. You're not going to be able to build the drag car out of it, at least out of this variation of it. Don't know if they're going to get the Man from U.N.C.L.E. licensing from it, why they're just calling it the Piranha Spy Car rather than the Man from U.N.C.L.E. car. There's a great, vast wealth of information about these cars online if you're interested in building one, like really correctly, I guess, or at least really detailed. More than I would have thought was there, but somebody mentioned it, and I went and looked, and my goodness, people really enjoyed this car. Or at least devoted a great deal of time towards memorializing it. Like I said, whether this will actually be, because usually round two is good with a movie sponsorship. If you notice, there's a whole bunch of like Batman and Star Trek and stuff in this release as well for the sci-fi guys. The 66 Chevelle, that's a Lindbergh kit. Other than, like putting it in a different box with the Lindbergh line logos, the old, 60s Lindbergh logos, I don't believe anything's going to be done to this. Maybe some new decals. It seems to be their modus operandi as far as reissuing kits. They, drop new decal sheets for them. With an AMT logo, but an MPC stock number is the 72 Chevy Blazer Crew Chief. Been a while since this has been out. I'm not sure when it was the last time. I want to say that Model King dabbled with that, but I'm not positively sure he did. A bunch of these kits actually are things that he had a hand in sort of tweaking or reissuing at some point in time. So they're sort of delving into a different section of the tooling vault as far as what they could reissue that's not totally involving a great deal of retooling or fixing tooling. And then you have Warren Tope's 1973 Mustang, again with an AMT logo on the box, but an MPC stock number. So we'll see how that's gonna come out. Into February, you're getting a reissue of the 1969 Mercury Cougar, same Cougar Eliminator. One thing that may not be legible on YouTube is the fact that this is being offered in either a white or an orange molding. So it'll be one of those two-color kits. The 69 Cougar is getting that retro box art treatment. I guess, okay, fine, whatever. I don't necessarily agree to retro box art updating things that aren't retro box arty in the begin with. Be interested to see whether or not AMT, round 2 rather, well, same difference. But if round 2 actually plans to just do the Cougar Eliminator, if they'll include the CJ428 parts in there too, because if you remember your 69 Mercuries, there was 2 kits of them done under the AMT Ertl days. The last time this kit was out, I believe, was when the Cougar Eliminator got reissued the last time under the Resto mod, or Resto Rod, or whatever they called that, when Racing Champions still owned things. You got your 1/32 scale Nestle Crunch Chevy Monster truck. That's a snap-type kit. The 37 Chevy Coupe there. The theory is, hasn't been confirmed yet because none of these kits are actually on Round 2's website, that this will be also taken back tooling-wise to its original issuing. It remains to be seen whether or not that's true. And then you got the 1969 Charger Funny Car. That'll be a Polar Lights reissue. Apparently, it will just be the 69 Charger Polar Lights drag car with a new set of decals. Into March, you got the 32 Ford Victoria. Again, there is the possibility that this will be tooled back to its original format. No word for sure. The 64 Chevy Impala in the 1970s Street Shaker box art. And then you got the a reissue of the Mack DM600 tractor. Mack DM600 tractor was reissued about 10 years ago by Dave Burkett, Model King guys. Be interesting to see if this is just a straight reissue of that 2005 set that he did, or if they're gonna tweak parts. And because I don't know if there was any parts missing with that. I really have never actually even had a DM600 kit to know if it was missing parts from the original tooling back in the 60s, but that will come back out, which is sort of appreciated because those Model King, I think maybe majorly, either way, those kits tend to run so much money as they have that big limited edition, 1 of 5,000 things stuck on the front of them, and everybody's like, oh my god, I have to hoard this, it'll save my retirement fund. No, it won't, because now it's not worth anything. The one other thing of sort of interest is down there in the bottom right is they're going to do a parts pack of the Redline tires. If you actually if this is big enough online to look at and see, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of chrome in that box. Yeah, that's when they made this flyer. They clearly weren't. They were more interested in announcing what they were doing rather than having correct pictures with it. There's a bunch of, like I said, AMT stuff with MPC stock numbers, or some MPC stuff with AMT stock numbers, and then this one clearly looks like the Corvair 283 parts into it when it's a set of tires. But no harm, no foul there. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to fault them for getting somebody in the graphics arts department getting things a little mixed up. So then we go on over to Revell. This was what we were waiting for the entire time. We kept saying, we're going to do a release, we're going to do a video, we're going to do a video. Yeah, sometime, maybe. All right, so last week we got this. I just ran out of time, physical time, within my own life to actually do this video. You've got one modified tooling that's reasonably significant, creating a great deal of stir online, and then everything else here is just a straight reissue of existing kits. Now, some of them have not been out for a long time, and there are, some of them, I guess, are more interesting than others, but I know several of them are, causing a little buzz. Usually when you get the talk about reissues, everybody's like, reissues is boring, I don't like them, and they should have put money into the new tooling and blah blah blah. You gotta realize how long it's been since some stuff's been out. Not everybody lives in your basement with your 1,000 kit stash, or goes to your hobby shop that happens to carry a lot of new old stock kits that they buy collections and stuff like that. So, top left there, obviously, that wagon, that 1957 Ford Del Rio Ranch wagon, that is your big ticket modified tooling reissue, big new thing for the first quarter. The Del Rio Ranch wagon is Ford's answer to the Chevy Nomad, and I was going to say allegedly, it really did. It's outsold the Nomad by quite a bit. It's kind of interesting because the 57 Ford in general, and this ranch wagon, the Del Rio Ranch wagon, is sort of the top line trim. That's what the ranch wagon is. What the car is. Del Rio is the trim. How was the last time you saw a 57 Ford Custom just rolling around restored? or in any condition, really. And then think about when the last time we saw a ranch wagon. You saw a 2-door station wagon, 57 Ford. I guarantee it's been a long time. I can't say that I've ever seen one in person. It's an interesting kit. It looks like it'll have, some new, obviously a new body and a new interior piece for the back of the wagon. Be interesting to see if they fix the tooling. The test shot for this show that it has the 2-door post sedan back bumper, which had bumper guards on it, and you would be able to open the bottom half of the tailgate with a bumper with bumper guards. So it remains to be seen whether or not Revell catches that. Everybody who saw it, immediately jumped on it and raised hell. So like I said, interesting to see if they realize that that's back there and your tailgate wouldn't function. There's a 2-piece tailgate on those. Glass went up, the bottom half went down, and like I said, you punch a hole in your station wagon if you had bumper guards. They're branding this as Fast and the Furious, but this is a reissue of the Tuner Series 93 Honda Civic Si. Next to it there is a 1980 Ford Ranger, the F-150 Ford Ranger. Other than being reissued once, this is an old Monogram kit, other than being reissued once in the High Roller series where they put a bunch of things on jacked up chassis, including a 70 Chevelle, this kit hasn't been reissued since 1980. It had one, its initial kit run, and then it was repackaged as something, like some sort of backwoods redneck had put it on a big truck suspension. I mean, bigger than the truck suspension it's already on, and that's pretty much it. Maybe we'll see the Street Burners come back, because who doesn't need a Chevelle on a big Blazer chassis? But sort of an interesting release. You wonder where the tooling for this has been for the last 35 years, because it hasn't been reissued since 1980. Came out once and done. I said, this is 124 scale. This is the old Monogram kit. Revell did a series of Ford F-150 Ranger pickups in 125th scale, and all of them were snap-tight kits. They all had like a one-piece engine insert. This one obviously has a multi-piece full-detail engine, suspension. It's four-wheel drive and things of that nature. So, know what you're getting. I don't know anybody who's really like, ooh, I wish that was a snap-tight kit, but, know that this actually is the full-detail kit. It's not the snap-tight kit. Two of the limited release SSP editions there. You got the Willys. This is going to be the original Willys kit. It is not the recently redone or recently retooled Willys with the Hemi. This is the original 1960s version of that car. It's going to have a new set of decals and a box art that's going to make it look like the original issue. Revell has really sort of been suckered into the round 2 world of having box art, nostalgia, I guess we put it. But anyway, like I said, it will be the 1960s version of the Stone Woods and Cook 41 Willys. Then you have your BRE Datsun 240Z. This is a straight race car. It is not... It does not come with factory stock parts, and no, Revell is not going to retool them. There never were any factory stock parts for this kit in the first place, but I saw a couple of different people going, "Oh, maybe they'll tool up some stock parts so you can build it as a regular car." No, that's not what the point of this is. It's an SSP, the Selected Subjects Program. Original kit parts. That's their big thing. You can blow the logo up and look at it. There's not going to be new tool parts in it. It's just not. Then you have your big scale. I assume that this big scale nonsense is because the car hauler itself, when put in a box, will be a larger scale compared to a regular Revell box. Bigger in scale, compare the two. See what I'm saying? Because this is 125th scale. This isn't even 124 scale. A lot of people think this is a Revell of Germany kit, but I believe this is actually a Revell kit because Revell of Germany would have tooled it in 124 scale. So this is a 125th scale. It's a 6-position car hauler. It's accurate for the 1980s. It's basically when the kit came out. This is a much welcome reissue, even though that it's kind of aged now. This ends up being a really great car hauler if you're going to be representing a independent used car guy that works like a Mannheim auction or something like that. Although technically this car hauler wouldn't be legal to drive down the road because it has no mud flaps on it, but it looked good mounted to like an 80s kit or 80s truck rather. Like a good say a cab over Peterbilt or a cab over Kenworth maybe the Kenworth T600 from AMT. Be interested to see if now that this trailer comes out, if round 2 gets around to releasing that again. But that thing's going for north of $100, usually like $150 on eBay. If you get the Prestige Auto Series, this thing originally came with like a flat top coffin bunk Peterbilt. That one's going for like $350. So again, it's another retirement project for a lot of people that you're not going to get real retire anymore. It's going to come back out and probably be like $50-$60. Your bottom line here, all reissues. 124 scale Porsche Boxster, that is the Snap Tight kit, and we may recall this from like the early 2000s under the Wheels of Fire box art. There of course is a Tamiya kit that is also a curbside, but is a full glue kit in the sense of, at least not being like 15 parts and have press-on decals. You got your 59 Cadillac Eldorado hardtop. I have one of these, and I can't find it. Well, yeah, the last time this was reissued, again, mid-2000s, and then it was the Eldorado Seville hardtop, so it'll be interesting to see if they correct the name. It'll be interesting to see, because this has a California wheels tag to it, if they plan to throw some, 20-inch donk wheels into it, or if this is going to be another one of these California wheels kits that is bone factory stock, and here we're thinking about, the 65 Impala convertible, the Mini Cooper, the 68 Beetle, all of these kits that Revell has been reboxing. The Impala SS convertible, of course, was originally a Revell kit, probably originally a Monogram kit, right around the merger. It's hard to know who actually was tooling those kits, that were done right around the merger, because, when the two companies merged together, it wasn't like they said, well, this was tooled by Revell originally, and now or this was tooled by Monogram originally, and it's hard to tell because Monogram, of course, went to 1/25 scale tooling, and they did the convertible Eldorado, so I assume this is actually Monogram's tooling, not Revell's. But at any rate, we're going to see if this is just a factory stock car, or if there's actually going to be a California wheels aspect to it. Beside it there, you see another 2013 Camaro ZL1. The interesting part about this, and the only reason anybody gives two poops, is because this one is going to be molded in white and have real decals. Yes, if you happen to buy one of the pre-painted ones, shame on you for not waiting or not having any faith that this would at least be released in white. It'd be interesting to see if the Challenger is released in white. I don't see the need to because, of course, you got your glue kit of the SRT8. Granted, it's a 2009, not a 2013, but the only difference is the wheels. Or if the, Stingray Corvettes that they're going to do are going to be eventually ordered in white, because the one big problem, well, two big problems with these pre-paints was that they didn't do a body prep at the factories, and they just painted over the mold lines. And that meant that if you really wanted your kit to look good and you weren't just slapping the thing together, you had to strip the paint off of it. It also didn't have any decals in it, so that when you strip the paint off of it, guess what? You had no decals! Huzzah! You could tape off the things and paint them and hand detail the scripting and stuff like that. And I know some people who did that or are in the process of doing that. But now all that work is for naught because they don't have to do it. And lastly, the last thing over there on the end, there's the 1940 Ford Standard Coupe. This was reissued Monogram branded under the Pro Modeler series, but this is again one of those things where the legacy of the tooling is a little fuzzy because obviously a bunch of the Pro Modeler were also Revell kits. So whose it is, not sure, but interesting is this is going under the Car Show label, which is where like the Black Widow and the Blue Bandito and things like that have been reissued. It's just sort of turning into the old car series, but this is a factory stock car. Be interested to see if they include any of like the other parts that have been tooled for it over the years. because there's like a Ford Street Rod version, and there's the Ford 40 Ford convertible has had some other parts to it, or if it's just going to be a straight factory stock standard coupe, because that's how it was originally issued. I guess we'll find out in the first quarter. The other thing to talk about as we talk about Revell's first quarter releases, of course, would be the fact that so much of the 2014 fourth quarter stuff is ass-end sliding right over there out into 2015. If you were looking for the Starsky and Hutch Ford Torino, that's been pushed back to January. If you were looking for, and I don't know why you would be looking for, but if you happen to be looking for the 96, 97 Ford Crown Victoria Build and Play, yeah, that's February at this point. The 2014 Corvette that I just mentioned, the Snap-Tight version will be in April, and the pre-paint glue kit will be in May. I mean, that's now second quarter of 2015. I don't know what the holdup is on those exactly, but those have got really chucked. They didn't just get pushed into 2015. Somebody punted them and then downed them at the 1 yard line, so to speak. The only thing I'm trying to think of, like, the stuff that we should expect for December. The only real thing that's in December at this point would be like the reissue of the Tuner Series Acura Integra and the new tool Snap-Tight Ford Raptor. Those are really the only two things in December that there still exist out of the 2014 fourth quarter releases at this point, because they've managed to push all of like the pre-paints and the Snap-Tight Build and Play stuff up, and then all the glue kits, because the 70 Torino is a brand new tool kit, although it does appear that it looks like it was tooled a long time ago, perhaps back in 2004 when the Starsky and Hutch movie with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson was out originally, and it also looks like it was partially tooled to like be at least compatible with being run, in die-cast with metal and plastic parts, and then got shelved for whatever reason, and now because like the inner fender wells are very clunky, the scripting is molded onto the body, the master brake cylinder is molded into the firewall. It's very 1980s, 1990s, monogram or early 2000s die-cast Revell tooling feel to this kit. But at any rate, that was a brand new tool kit at some point in the past or in the future, and it's pushed back. The Stingrays, they're new tools, they're pushed back. I think the Raptor originally was supposed to come out in September, so it has been significantly pushed back as well. It was supposed to be one of the first of the fourth quarter tools to come out, because that kit was introduced back at the NNL East in April, so it's almost, well, it is. It's 8 months later, and it was supposed to be like 5. So that, Revell, sort of like I said, everybody's sort of running into production problems. That's nothing, that's Revell-centric. Obviously, round 2 has bumped into a few things. Aoshima bumped into a few things. Just talked in the weekly video about how an Aoshima kit came out that was supposed to come out in August. Just came out this week. So, I'm not going to fault Revell. It's just the nature of the business. When Christmas comes around, the injection molding places have other things to do other than make model kits, and trying to find time to run your tooling. Stuff happens. From somebody who, again, is up that way by Chicago, they've said that a significant problem with Revell's test shots has been they've sent back the information to fix the test shots, and the test shots have come back worse or not fixed at all. So I don't know if it's a language barrier or laziness at the factory, or what exactly the problem there is, but clearly Revell's not getting their money's worth, and in the end, we don't get our money's worth. And that ends up getting Revell, bashed online, and, nothing you can do about it. Somebody's got to pull the plug on that factory and move it someplace else, or have the talk, the come to Jesus talk, as it were. If Revell chooses not to do that, then they'll reap the rewards, so to speak, of that policy. Mobius, I got nothing to talk about because all their stuff still isn't out. The 54 Hudsons may be the closest thing at this point, because the 69, 71 Ford Ranger pickups went back into some cab retooling, and now they're pushed back to the second quarter of 2015. Everything else, the 65 Comet, the 62 Pontiacs, as well as there's something else there. Oh, the 65 Plymouth Satellite. All that stuff's third or fourth quarter of 2015 at this point, if it ever shows up in 2015 at all. The Hudsons are so far ahead because all they need to do for these Hudsons was tool a new body, new front and back, front grille and back bumper and things like that, because all the rest of the Hudson already exists. The 54 Hudsons were the last of the sort of independently run Hudsons right before Nash bought them out. And, so the cars were not changed because Hudson was running out of money. They just put a new body on an old chassis, old interior. And so, Mobius gets to do the same thing, essentially, and they get to take parts that are already all done and just put a new body with them. So, be interesting to see if they can get those out before anything else, or if they're going to dwindle off into the sunset of 2015 as well. Now, moving overseas into Asia, it'll be interesting to see at perhaps the Nuremberg Toy Fair in January, because that's when we'll find out, like, Revell of Germany's entire 2015 usually release schedule. Be interesting to see if Meng has anything up their sleeve, because we're assuming, a lot of us, that the F-350 was the first salvo of a two-kit series, that there was going to be a dually made, because the pickup bed, the way it's constructed, would lead you to believe that there's an insert for a dually bed, because it would require like a different axle in the back and an extra set of tires, a new set of wheels, and you're on your way. It's not that much of a difference. Otherwise, the cab will carry over, all the dirty parts for the most part will carry over, the interior carries over because it's already a four-door. So it'll be interesting to see if there's something else there. I mean, they've created this car series. If the dually isn't next, is there something else that's next? Is the F-350 was CS001. And so you've created a car series, and you've numbered it with a 3-digit number starting at 1. I mean, that would lead me to believe there's at least 100 things they have planned. Obviously not all at the same time, but, you'd be like 01 or just 1 if you didn't plan to do anything else. It's got its own little section on Meng's website now. So again, we'll be interested to see what they have planned, if they have anything planned. BMAX, they've got their stuff that they're doing. They've got their Rally Corolla, as well as their Civic road racing car that are sort of just in 3D models right now. There's a McLaren 120 scale McLaren F1 car that they're doing that, interestingly enough, scared Fujimi off. This kit was supposed to be done by Fujimi, and then BMAX and Aoshima announced it, and Fujimi actually canceled their version. Which is odd, because usually whenever Fujimi decides to do something that Aoshima is either about to announce or already announced, they rush it out to market before Aoshima can get it there, so that they're first. It was very interesting to see them actually cancel this. And it makes me wonder about the Fujimi McLaren long-tail and short-tails, if those weren't all just crammed out there to get them out there to try to get back, quote-unquote, at Aoshima for ruining their McLaren F1 series plans. Because, BMAX, new company, Aoshima, as far as I know, I mean, there may be some stuff in the past that if I really dug, I could find, but as far as I know, the stuff that's right here, top of the head, there's no 120th scale F1 cars in Aoshima's history. So it's interesting to see them team up with BMAX to do that. And then, of course, the Chevy Cruze. When that's going to come out, I don't know. They showed it at this Hobby Expo thing that they just did at Yokohama last weekend, and the kit's in a box, but it's pre-production parts. The box art they're showing is like awaiting licensing coming soon. Be interesting, you put all that money into it, and GM hadn't licensed it yet. But, I guess they're waiting for approval, box art, and other stuff, and it's just dragging its feet, and obviously it's not going to make this, not going to make it out before the new year, so it's a 2015 release at this point now, too. One thing we talked about, last week's video was that Nissan Sunny GB121 Long Body Deluxe kit came out, and as I mentioned, there are fender mirrors, a new front bumper, and some interior parts and a catalytic converter. The interior parts of the catalytic converter specifically say on the instructions, do not use on a GB121. These go on a B122, and the fender mirrors and the front bumper are also for a 122. So that is what. Hang on. That's what that is. That's a GB122 Nissan Sunny. I believe it's a short bed, not a long bed, though. But it was what was on Wikipedia, so you run with what brought you there. It'd be interesting to see if they, they've tooled up these low-down parts, and they included that, second set of Watanabe-style wheels with the first kit. It'd be interesting to see, I mean, if this is, we don't know for sure, if this was like the model that they were making the model from. But if they put these four-spoke wheels or something similar into it, like I said, those fender mirrors and that front bumper are not the same as the 121, and they are already in the kit, grayed out with, use these parts, do not use these parts. So this will be coming. It's just a matter of when Hasegawa announces it and when they plan to produce it. Like I said, what they're going to do with it. If they're just going to, let's put it this way, I would not expect them to just throw the steel wheels in it and call it a day. I would assume there's going to be another set of custom wheels because they've tooled up these lowered suspension components, for a reason. They didn't just go, well, it'd be kind of fun if this car had Watanabes in it, and we're done. Nah, that doesn't work like that. Tamiya. Now, Tamiya, and Fujimi as well, but Tamiya especially, is very close to the vest when it comes to kit announcements. We usually don't know what Tamiya is going to do until they do it, or sometimes after they do it. They've, made their world using this business plan of being, isolation is probably not the right word, but as far as being very closed-mouthed and secretive about their kit releases, and, it served them well. A lot of people have complained that 2014, the automotive modeler sort of got, the short end of the stick. There wasn't anything new this year, and we got all these chintzy reissues and stuff like that. And ultimately, you got to look at Tamiya as a, large corporation as far as what they're doing. Every other year is the automotive year. You look back just like the past, 7-8 years. You had stuff like the Nissan GTR kit, and then nothing. And then the Lexus LFA came out, and then there was nothing. And then the FXX version of the Enzo, because the Enzo's in there someplace. I'm not sure it came out before the GTR or afterwards, but the FXX is in there someplace. And then there was nothing. Of course, this Mercedes-Benz McLaren SLRs. There was a 722 edition and the original one. And then, you basically have a bunch of planes, trains, and automobiles. In a sense, without the automobiles part, because it's all IPMS stuff every other year. If you get a big 1/32 scale kit, like the P51 Mustang was a big 1/32 scale Tamiya release, there were no cars that year. I believe the car kits that came out that year were the BRZ and the Toyota 86. Every other year is that big new tooled release, and the good part is 2015 is that year. 2014 was not an automotive year because last year was when we got the LaFerrari kit with the, Tamiya photo etch and the Tamiya carbon fiber. It was a big, complete kit. Like I said, one year the big complete kit was the LFA. One year the big complete kit was the FXX conversion of the Enzo and stuff like that. So it usually works out that every other year you get that big kit. So this year, what's that big kit going to be? There is, of course, an FXX racing version of the LaFerrari. That would be interesting, I guess. I don't know that the LaFerrari is quite iconic enough to justify, making an FXX version of it. The Enzo, love it or hate it, was, at least stylistically standpoint, game-changing Ferrari. No Ferraris look like that. It looks sort of like an F1 car with fenders. And it is an F1 car with fenders, basically. And so, it was very instantaneously its own thing. It didn't look like any of the 512s or the Modena or, the California, the Super America, or any of those things. It was its own car. And it's a supercar, so, it's going to be its own car. But if you look at the LaFerrari, you can see shades of the Enzo in it. It's not one of those things where you're like, oh, I don't know where this came from. You sort of see that. It's a newer looking F1 car with fenders and towing trailer mirrors. So, so I said, that FXX of the LaFerrari exists. It's going to come out, I believe, next year in real life. The other thing that would be interesting to see, and is my preference, if you were going to ask me, would be the Porsche 918. The Porsche 918, the successor of the Carrera GT, that was one of those big complete kits they offered. I think it's very, it's a very sexy looking car and all that happiness. But, it's a very significant car. You see the Enzo, or not the Enzo, but the LaFerrari and this, and now the McLaren P1 and things like that. There's this push towards the Nissan GTR the next generation Nissan GTR is going to be this way, of having a hybrid drivetrain in with the motor to create this monstrous amount of horsepower. And, the 918 is that way. The P1 was the fastest car that Motor Trend has ever tested as far as 0 to 60 and 0 to 100 times. Having that electric motor that's like instantaneous torque and instantaneous additional horsepower has become like the thing to do. And the Porsche 918 was actually, at least announced and sort of tested in public before the LaFerrari was ever unveiled. That would be the two things I would guess. I mean, as far as I've ever seen, to be other than the two motorized chassis Countachs, has never had a Lamborghini license. That belongs to Aoshima and Fujimi currently. They don't have a McLaren license. That, again, is another Fujimi Aoshima deal. So, if they're going to do a great big black box, comprehensive, $90 model kit, it's probably going to be a 918 or maybe the LaFerrari FXX. I prefer the 918. The FXX can come out next year, the year after that. Because, like I said, this year, 2014, when you look at it, it was really good for the motorcycle guys. They got that great big scale Harley Davidson, and then during the summertime, the larger scale, the regular scale, as far as to me is concerned, Ducati Panigale came out. That was a big get for the motorcycle guys. And for, the guys that want four wheels on their vehicles, we got that modified large-scale 240Z. We got the modified street, what do we call these things? Street Customs. Yeah, Street Custom 2000 GTR hardtop. We got, coming out this month, the modified Street Custom BRZ. And then, of course, in December, we just announced that in the last video, you're going to get that Gazoo Racing, Toyota Racing Development Rally Challenge rally car. So we've gotten like nibbles of things thrown our way. If you didn't care about the 2000 GTR in the first place, you didn't care that you could get it again with a different set of wheels and a photo etched shock tower and, all these doodads and ding-dongs. Same things with the BRZ. It's getting ground effects and a wing and things like that. If you didn't care about the BRZ, then you don't care about the fact that they're modifying it. And, so you're really wanting that new tool. Where's my 918? That 918 is like probably, if I talk to my friends and anybody online, that 918 is really the thing that everybody wants. Will we get it? I don't know. Usually the big box kit comes out at the very end of the year. LaFerrari was like a November, December release. And so that leaves a lot of the beginning of the year open. Maybe it comes out in the summer. 2014 was the centenary of World War I, the start of World War I. So there was a lot of World War I tanks, a lot of World War II planes and ships, and more World War II armor, obviously. But you got a lot of IPMS, quote-unquote, kits out of Tamiya. They spent their money on motorcycles and armor because, well, let's face it, the military modelers are going to pay more, and so will the motorcycle guys. Car guys tend to be cheap, and that's just a fact of life. I'd like to change that fact of life, but there's nothing I personally can do about it other than support Tamiya's releases when they make them. But if you ever want to sit down, talk to somebody about Tamiya kit, usually the first thing that comes out of their mouth is it's too expensive. And, until you get people to, order from Hobby Link Japan or Hobby Search or Hobby Easy, they're Hong Kong based, I also use them, and buy direct without paying the middleman markup, as it were, then you're never going to get these people to believe that the kits aren't that expensive to begin with. But that's sort of neither here nor there. That brings us around to Aoshima. Now, they were supposed to announce that clean sheet supercar at Hobby Expo, and as far as I know, that didn't happen. I don't know if that was because the tooling wasn't ready, or we've read too much into there being a clean sheet supercar for the first quarter of 2015. We still have a blurry, pixelated, really orange, McLaren orange, some people might say, car that, was said to be coming out, but there's been no announcement of what that is. What we do have from Hobby Expo, however, some pictures to look at, are the first official tooling shots of that 1988 spec Lamborghini Countach fuel-injected kit. Compared to the ones I've been showing you where it's just stuff taped to stuff This is an actual, honest-to-God test shot that's assembled. You get your front end there, and here is your engine and back end. So they're saying 2015 question mark. This is supposed to be a first quarter kit. The other thing we found out about that we did not know about and had no inkling of is this. This is the next variation of the Aventador tooling. This is the 50th anniversary. 50th anniversary for those non-Italians. This kit is going to have the wheels and tires out of the 2013 Roadster kit, but it's going to get some new parts added. The headlight buckets appear to be new, as far as I could tell, because I really haven't delved into my Roadster as well as I probably should have. But I believe those headlight buckets are new. There is a new front splitter, and there is also a new rear diffuser area, as well as a larger mesh area back there in the back. And it also appears to me to be a new interior. I don't believe that there was a sort of diamond tuck and I said tuck and roll. It's going to blow up, tuck and roll. This diamond sort of tuck leather pattern. I don't believe that was actually in the regular. I know it wasn't in the regular Aventador, and I don't think it's in the Roadster either. I believe this was a 50th anniversary feature. So you got some new interior parts. Most of the interior is the same, but it looks like new door panels and new seats, as well as so wheels and tires out of the Roadster, and some new front and back parts. Would be interesting to see at this point, because the only thing, as far as I can tell, that keeps this from being a super veloce Aventador is the fact that it has no big wing on the back. Be interesting to see if in the future Aoshima doesn't reissue the Aventador again that way. I'm not a person who hates the Aventador. I kind of like the car. It's one of those love it or hate it designs from people I've talked to. But I certainly have no objection to this 50th anniversary version or the Super Veloce in the sense of supporting it financially. Again, the Countach, I'm still on the fence about whether or not I'd actually go ahead and buy that. I'm not that as a child of the 80s, born in 77 and 37 years old and all the rest of that happiness. The Countach and the Testarossa are sort of like the sports cars of my youth, and I really don't like either one of them. I mean, I appreciate them for the cars that they are, revolutionary, scissor doors on the Countach and the big motor and the Testarossa and Miami Vice and the whole 9 yards. Appreciate them for the automotive, history and what they are. Just never really particularly like them personally, and so I don't know if I could buy another Countach. I've got one of them. It's an original Countach, the LP400. I don't know. It's the reasons to buy it if you're into Countaches are there. It's an 88 spec, which has only been done once, and a fuel injected engine, which has never been done at all. It's certainly never been done together, but I'm more into the Aventador than I am the Countach. I will buy the Aventador before I buy the Countach. And that leaves us, of course, like I said, what is this clean sheet new tool? Is there a clean sheet new tool? Is it a McLaren? If it is a McLaren, is it a street version of the Longtail? That'd be great. I mean, I realize there's probably only 5 of those in existence, but throw a set of treaded tires into the kit, and to now you have a new release with a minimum amount of work, because other than moving the fuel filler to an actual fuel filler location, taking the race filler out, and some internal mods to the engine, which I don't believe any of them will be externally visible, it's the race car just turned into a turned into a road legal car, sent back to McLaren after the racing was done. And some of them are still like in historic racing series. And then about 5 of them were pulled out and turned into street cars. And there's one that is blazingly orange, just like the photo pixelated. That's not a new tool, though. A short tail, like the F1, like Fujimi did a half-ass crappy job of, the street car, love to have one of those. I would possibly consider supporting a short tail race version. I mean, I already have the Fujimi one because I wanted to do a race short tail. So I might support another race short tail if it was full detail the way the long tail is. I have not, as a consequence, I haven't bought any of the Fujimi long tails because I don't need it. I have an Aoshima one. And the full detail Aoshima one is heads and tails and doors and wheels above the Fujimi one. So, a street F1 would be good. A short tail race car would be good. A P1 would be good. The only thing about it, doing a brand new McLaren is you don't know where the tooling variations with that would be. I know a couple of people have said, well, maybe it'll be the fax machine, the MP412C. Now, the MP412C they don't make anymore, but you could do a race car out of that. And there's the regular MP412C, and there's an MP412C Roadster. So there are, from the get-go, at least 3 tooling variations there, and it's one of the things that, a lot of people don't ever seem to look at. You see online all the time, these things are like, I want a Bluetooth-mobile from 1963, 5-door station wagon with a straight 6. And who besides you is going to buy that? And even if you could make that, what are the other things you can make from it? Whether you like it or not, to justify model making, in the sense not the building, but the actual making of the model kits, the actual, being Aoshima, being Revell, being Round 2, well, not Round 2 because they don't make new tools of anything anymore, but being Revell or Mobius or any of the Asian companies, you have to look at what else you can do with these tools. Aoshima is famous, Fujimi as well, for having like 80 gajillion different versions of their GTRs. Both Fujimi and Aoshima, have, and well, to me, obviously did several GTRs too, but they're very much more conservative. The R32, the 2000 GTR, the R32, an R33 V-Spec, and then, 3 R34s. But there are probably at least 24 Fujimi R32s, a dozen and a half Aoshima ones, or not Aoshima ones, but a dozen and a half Fujimi R33s, and that's where usually you got a couple of R32s, and then a couple of R33s, and then R34s. It was like all, it's battle royale. All gloves are off. Everybody made a whole bunch of them, and then your R35s, the current Nissan GTR, the one that you can buy here in the States. There's several specialty ones plus a factory stock one from Fujimi. There's several factory specialty ones plus the factory stock one from Aoshima. Aoshima obviously is doing the updates to them, 7, 12, and then 14. The other thing from Aoshima that we don't have any official word of, but an educated guess would indicate, would be, of course, that there will be a left-hand drive version of the 2014 Nissan GTR, the updated tooling, because there's always been a left-hand drive version of all of their R35 GTRs. We'll probably, of course, see new tool VIP version of cars out of these Crown Athlete, or Crown Royals and Crown Athletes. Or Crown Royals, anyway. The Crown Athletes usually don't get the VIPs. It's the Crown Royals that do. But I would expect to see some, new tuner cars out of that. And, Aoshima is always one of those companies where you never know exactly what you're going to get out of them. Maybe a new WRX would be cool. They did, a 7 and a 10 of the station wagon. I was trying to think of stuff I've seen, requested on their Facebook page. But, they don't have a Ferrari license, so that's not that's not their deal. But the Ferrari FF is still out there. Nobody's ever done that. I mean, a lot of people would prefer Fujimi to never tool a new kit ever again. Because, you got all these new tool kits from Fujimi had like the seat bottom molded into the interior and interior buckets instead of side panels and stuff like that. But sometimes they're the only game in town. It's like the Evo 3. Yeah, the Hasegawa one exists, but can you find one? The Evo 9, these are all stuff we just talked about in the weekly video. The Evo 9, they're doing for December. There is no other Evo 9. So you suck it up and buy it. There's a 1997 spec R33 GTR kit. It's kind of hard to find because it was only ever done once. And all of and this is just a warning, I guess, to everybody, all the R32 and R33s that Fujimi did are rear-wheel drive. They're not all-wheel drive like a GTR really is in real life, because they've just used some generic Nissan rear-wheel drive chassis out of either a Skyline or maybe one of the Silvias, and didn't just put everything Nissan onto it. They sized it to fit, and, it's a generic Nissan chassis. And a lot of people hate that. And justifiably so, because when you look at how many R32s and R33s they made, tooling up the correct chassis would have been worth the money. But Fujimi cuts corners. It's what they're known for. They're, the MPC of Japan, so to speak. And so they didn't. But if you want a 97 spec R33 GTR, which has a different front fascia and a different set of wheels than the regular R33 GTR, the Nismo R33 GTR, or the V-Spec version that Tamiya did, then it's the only kit there is. So do you build one? Do you DV-spec the Tamiya kit and then tool the front bumpers and make a set of wheels out of thin air? How much money do you want to put into making a 97 V-spec, or 97 not V-spec, but 97 just GTR? Sometimes it's one of the things where you gotta suck it up and take it. We give Revell a lot of grief, but it's usually about proportional accuracies. I'll give you chassis stuff, because chassis stuff is, how many people really gotta see the bottom of your model? And how many people really build the bottom of their model to be shown? And there's obviously guys who do, acres of photo etch and acres of scratch building, sometimes to terrible, terrible effects. Venomously terrible effects. But, most people build their models, and you have like two schools of thought. One is everything has to have overspray, or you just paint it flat black and go for it. I tend to sort of ride the middle there, in the sense of, if it has overspray, I'll try, but it's not a priority. I guess it's one of those, I build it for myself, I build it for fun things. We were just discussing this today. A little rant about people who use that as an excuse. Because, who builds for stress and aggravation? I mean, really. Have you ever sat down and went, boy, I hope that this model kit kicks my ass and really just ruins my whole evening? Because I know I don't. It's sort of a separate sub-argument of the whole, I got a Tamiya kit once. It just fell together. It wasn't a challenge to me. I don't like Tamiya kits. They're too easy. That is your prerogative, and you're allowed to have it. This is, at least here where I'm filming this. This is the United States of America, and as of right now, we still have the ability to have free speech. But I don't want to challenge. I don't want to fight my models. I want to build my models. When I have to sit here and threaten to throw things at walls if they don't, go together. Of course, that was a long time ago in your teenage years. I think everybody had that point. But a lot of people, I know a lot of people that are like right up to that line, man. That blood boils because something that fit before you painted it doesn't fit anymore, or you scrape the paint, or you glue smudge something, and even when you're the most careful person on the face of the planet, crap like that happens because Murphy shows up with his laws. And but I got enough stuff to deal with. I got kids, I got a job. I want my hobbyist is not stressful. It's relaxing. Believe it or not, it's relaxing. And building something, I want it to build nicely. I want to take these plastic parts. I want to take these plastic parts, convert them into something on the other end that resembles a model of the car that's on the box, and not have a knockdown, drag-out MMA battle over the thing. And so I don't want a challenge. I want the easiest, most well-engineered kit accurately proportioned that I can get. And as a consequence, I build for fun. I build for myself because this is what I build. Over here is all domestic. In front of me over here is all imports. I build everything except like planes and stuff like that because it's just that's more than I want to get into. But I'm excited for that 57 Del Rio Ranch wagon as I am for that 50th anniversary Venador. That's where I am as far as my eclectic building taste goes. That's what I mean by I build for myself when I build for fun. But that doesn't mean I'm going to build something junky and then say, go online and be like, oh, this sucks. Can you fix it? And then somebody gives you the correct way to fix it. And you go, oh, I've just built for fun. I'm not that serious. Well, then you didn't want the answer. I think there's a brochure they give out to new modelers these days. And it's like, welcome to the hobby. And, you get this little thing and it has all the excuses. I build for myself. I build for fun. Why are you taking toy cars so seriously? And things like that. Don't come online, put your work online, and don't expect it to not get critiqued. And if you come online specifically asking for help, and then you're given help, don't blow the people off by telling them basically, F yourself, I don't want to do what you say. It's a cliche on the side of a truck with no shortcuts to success. And I'm not going to say I live my life by that because that's retarded and it's just a cliche. But, there does come a point in time where the way to fix it is the way to fix it, and you're not going to be able to just, duck and cover and try to, weasel your way out of it. Nobody builds for stress. Nobody builds for aggravation. Everybody builds for fun. What your level of fun is, of course, is your own thing. But, don't ask for help and then throw it all away, I guess is where I'm going. I just really turned my crank today seeing that on a forum. So I guess that's where we're gonna cut this one short. Babbled on for nearly an hour. And apparently my voice has had enough. So that's what we have to look forward to in the first 3 months and second 3 months, probably, and give or take, in 2015. So we'll see you on the other side next week with our regular videos.